Good, good. First, I want to apologize for how things was last time I came up here before y'all. All this different type of stuff, so that's where I get frustrated and I shut down.
Shedeur Sanders just walked up to the podium and did something we have not seen from him all training camp. He apologized, not for a stat, not for a pick, for how he handled the media the last time he was up there. And then he kept going. He told everybody exactly why he shuts down when the cameras come out, why he feels drained when he talks, and why he has been protecting his energy this whole camp. This was not a scripted PR moment. This was Shedeur explaining himself in his own words, and it tells you more about where his head is at than any stat line could. Let's start with the apology itself, because this is not something Shedeur does often. He opened his press conference by saying he wanted to apologize for how things went the last time he was in front of reporters. He said he dislikes it when there is separation, when something gets between the team, when people get painted a certain way. And here's the part that matters. He said that is exactly what makes him frustrated, and that is exactly when he shuts down. Think about that for a second. Shedeur is not saying he shuts down because he is hiding something. He is saying he shuts down because he does not want to be the reason the locker room gets divided. He does not want his words getting twisted into a storyline that pits him against a coach, against a teammate, against the organization. He called it an option that's not really an option, meaning he could keep talking and risk it getting spun the wrong way, or he could pull back and protect the team. For him, that is not even a real choice. He went further and said he feels drained when he expresses himself to people, to places, to cameras, and it's not received the right way. Drained is the word he used. Not annoyed, not frustrated, drained. That is a guy telling you directly that dealing with the noise costs him something real, and he is trying to be honest about that instead of pretending it doesn't affect him. And this is where it connects to everything else he said in that room, because right after the apology, the very next thing out of his mouth was about saving energy, preserving it, not spending it on things that don't help the team win. That is not deflection. That is a rookie quarterback, now a year in, laying out an actual philosophy for how he's going to handle year two.
Good, good. First, I want to apologize for how things was last time I came up here before y'all. I think dearly, I dislike when it's a lot of separation and when something gets between the team and people get painted a certain way and all this different type of stuff. So that's why I get frustrated and I shut down, because this doesn't help us win. So it's kind of like an option, but not an option. So I feel drained when I express myself to people and places and cameras when it's not received and taken the right way, or we're trying to divide the team or anything like that. So
hold on. Before you move past that, really sit with what he just admitted. He is telling you the media noise physically drains him. That is not a small thing to say out loud. Now here is where it gets even more interesting, because Shedeur did not stop at the apology. A reporter brought up the pre-snap operation, the stuff Coach Switzer has been coaching on, trying to save those 8 seconds before the snap. And Shedeur's answer connected straight back to what he opened with. He said that is exactly why he talks about saving energy. He said throughout his day, he is actively finding ways to preserve it, so he can be, in his words, a battery out there, fast, purposeful, quick. Then he said the part that ties this whole press conference together. He said you cannot operate that way when you are pulled in a lot of different directions. That is when he feels drained. He has tested it. He knows what helps him and what puts him in the best position to operate the way the coaches want. So walk through the logic here. Media drama pulls him in a direction. Distractions pull him in a direction. Getting painted a certain way, having the team divided by outside narratives, that pulls him in a direction. And every one of those directions is energy he is not spending on football. That is why the apology mattered to him, not because he was told to say sorry, because in his own mind, shutting down on people, even reporters, ran against the same principle he is trying to live by on the field. Protect the energy, spend it where it counts. This is also why he brushed off questions about getting hit as a pro. He said it does not faze him at all, that he got hit plenty in college, that he got hit multiple times last year in the league too. He said he actually likes the challenge of getting the ball out before contact, making the right reads, going through progressions fast. That is a guy who has decided which battles are worth his energy and which ones are just noise.
It's very important. That's why I talk about saving your energy, so you gotta, throughout my day, I find ways on how I can save my energy to be able to be a battery out there, to be able to operate fast, and do everything with a purpose and very quickly. You can't do all that when you pulled in a lot of different directions, because that's how I feel drained. I feel drained that way, and I tested it, so I know what helps me, what puts me in the best situation to operate.
So if energy is the whole philosophy, how is that actually showing up on the field right now? Because the numbers back up what he is saying. Here is the proof it is not just talk. A reporter pointed out there have been a lot of interceptions at this training camp, and Shedeur has the fewest. When asked why, he did not brag. He said he's not totally sure. He just tries to go through the process every day, make his decisions, and not second-guess himself. He said he tries to keep down and distance at the forefront of his mind, understand the situation, and know when it's time to force a throw and when it's not. He was honest that it does not always work out clean. He said some throws get tipped, some things just happen, and last season within games, he threw some picks too. But his point was that the emphasis now is being confident in every decision and standing by it. He even connected that directly to life off the field, saying the decisions he makes away from football, he has to stand on those too. He cannot live in regret. That process-first mindset is the same energy management principle from earlier in the press conference, just applied to decision-making on the field instead of decision-making with reporters. Don't force it. Don't let outside pressure or second-guessing pull you into a bad choice. Trust the process, stay in it, and protect your focus from anything that would knock you off that path. He also touched on why he treats practice like a real game. He said it's the same amount of focus and seriousness every single day, which is part of why he feels like he's grown in every area rather than just one specific area. He described it like a chart in his own head, 10 different things to improve, working toward what he called max threshold, which he openly admitted will take years, not weeks.
I'm not sure. I just try to go about the process every day, make my decisions and not really second guess. Or not, and not really I try to go through the process the right way and try to do everything I'm trying to do. So I think as long as that's at the forefront of the mind and understanding situations, understanding down the distance.
Now here is the part you need to hear, because this is Shedeur talking straight about how he feels about the outside noise around this team. Later in the press conference, Shedeur got real specific about why the separation narrative bothers him so much. He explained that when the coaching staff makes a decision, whether it is about reps or roles, he does not question it, because he said whatever the coaches tell them is direct, and the team is always informed the right way. He said there is never a miscommunication between him and the staff. Then he said something pointed. He said he does not appreciate it when something happens and people jump on a coach, accusing him of, in Shedeur's words, tripping, because he said that just creates extra. His actual phrase was that everyone should be there to win and be a team and be a franchise, and that means the group has to slow down instead of reacting to outside noise. He even acknowledged that some people are just in it to make money and get clicks, and said the team understands that but chooses not to let it affect them because, as he put it, we're in our own cocoon. That is Shedeur directly naming the exact dynamic he apologized for at the top of the press conference. Outside narratives creating separation, people getting painted a certain way. It all circles back to the same idea. And then he gave credit to where that culture is coming from, saying Coach Monken arrived, the trust across the team has grown, because Monken lets everybody be themselves. Shedeur said that is the best way for people to actually produce, and that everyone has freedom within the guidelines of the team, as long as nobody disrespects it or does anything negative. He closed out talking about the receivers, saying his chemistry with Denzel and Casey is growing with every single rep, because football is full of different situations and reads that only show up the more time you spend together. Small detail, but it fits the bigger picture. Everything he said in this press conference points to a guy trying to build trust, protect his focus, and keep his energy pointed at football instead of outside distractions.
I just don't really appreciate sometimes if things happen and if things happen and y'all just jump on the coach like he just tripping or something. You know, I don't really like that because it creates just extra, and I hope we all here to want to win, you know, and be a team and be a franchise. So it's kind of like we got to slow down, you know, if that's what we want. But if we just in here to just make money and get clicks, then, you know, we understand that too. So that's why I just appreciate the team. I appreciate everybody that we don't let anything online or anything really get to us, you know, because we're in our own cocoon. We're a team.
So before you write this off as just another press conference clip, look at what actually happened here. A guy opened with a real apology, explained the exact reason behind it, and then backed it up with results. Let's recap what actually went down here, because it is easy to miss how much Shedeur revealed in a few minutes. He opened by apologizing for how he handled media before, and told you plainly why. Separation and outside narratives frustrate him, and that frustration is what makes him shut down. He said engaging with people and cameras drains him when it isn't received the right way, so he's choosing to preserve that energy instead. Then he showed you where that energy is actually going. Into the pre-snap operation Coach Schweitzer has been drilling, into a decision-making process that has him with the fewest interceptions at this camp, into building chemistry with his receivers rep by rep, and into trusting a coaching staff that he says has built real trust with him by letting him be himself. The apology was not about optics. It was Shedeur telling you the same thing twice in two different ways. Protect the energy, spend it where it counts, and do not let outside noise pull you in directions that do not help the team win. So here's the real question after hearing all of that directly from Shedeur. Is this apology and this whole approach to saving his energy actually going to translate into him locking down the starting job? Or is the media going to keep testing that patience all season long? Drop a comment and let us know which side you're on. Smash like and subscribe.